Welcome in, everybody. Joe Quills here with you on this Tuesday night. Welcome in, everybody. Joe Quills with you on this Tuesday And I don't know what happened with the sound there for the beginning there, but we're here live on a Wednesday night. I'm used to being here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'll get into why I wasn't here last night. But we're here on a Wednesday night, and it is the night before the annual Phillies rain out of their home opener, which is for their second straight year. But we'll get into that and a lot more here coming up. And at the end of the show, I'll give you my prediction, sure to go wrong, for MLB. And as you know, MLB, we have 162 games, so we can't do the give them a win dog, give them a lost dog stuff. So we're not going to do that. And I'm not even going to tell you how many wins each team is going to have. I'm just going to tell you who's going to be in what position in the division, who wins the divisions, who gets the wild cards, and who will hoist the Commissioner's Trophy at the end of the season. So we'll get to that at the end of the show. I got jam-packed here. I got a bunch of stories I want to talk about. I'm not going to get them all tonight. So what we're going to do, we're doing tonight's show as a makeup from last night. We are going to do a show tomorrow night as well. And barring anything unforeseen, we're going to do a live cast of the Phillies home opener on Friday, which will be at 3 o'clock Eastern. So keep an eye on my Twitter at Joe Quills. Keep track of my Instagram. Keep track of my threads. Kind of staying off of Facebook because everybody thinks that I'm available all the time when I'm not. But but just trying to expand on my brand. Build my brand, whatever it is. Trying to, I am trying to grow this thing, trying to help grow Bleacher Brothers as well, and go from there. So, hope everybody has had a good week out there. Me, not too bad, but the good news is tomorrow, I'm done for the week. And sometimes being union does have its privileges. And I was talking to we were talking about last night when I was on the Bleacher Brothers show. So I'll get into that in a second. But they said, "Oh, well, Sunday's the holiday. It's Easter. You should have the Monday off." No, not with my union. And I'm sure, I know the city of Philadelphia is the same way as well. But with my union, with the city of Philadelphia, and I'm sure my rental office is going to be closed on Friday, I'm guessing. But I am off on Friday. I got a 3-day weekend. And I kind of gave AJ a clue that I wanted to go to Gulfstream Park because I had a 3-day weekend because the Florida Derby is this weekend. And instead, I ended up just having as a stay-at-home weekend for 3 days. I got stuff to do anyway, so. But barring anything unforeseen, we may be doing a side cast on Friday. So keep an eye out on my Twitter. Keep an eye out on my Instagram. We'll see if I can do that on Friday. So, coming up, I'll give thoughts on the Kim Mulkey situation. She doesn't have a leg to stand on. Utah's women team had issues when they were in Spokane, Washington for their tournament. I'll give you a little sorbet with some Caitlin Clark news that my good friend SJ posted um, on her Twitter today, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," and I um, studied it and stuff like that, and I'll try to get into the Shohei Ohtani stuff. There is a lot to it, and um, depending on the time, I just may not get to it. So, um, but that's why we have tomorrow night, because um, if we don't have, if we don't fit all the 10 pounds of crap in a 2 pound bag, you know, we got tomorrow. So, so I do want to mention one thing. Now, in the past, over the last 6 months or so, I always told you guys, and I was always upfront with you guys in terms of mental health, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. But last night was not a mental health thing. I had an opportunity to be on the Bleacher Brothers show last night for the second hour. And it was a little bit of everything. Of course, I was totally unprepared because I'm thinking, since I am the horse racing degenerate, we're going to talk horses. Yeah, we talked fillies, we talked this, we talked that. We talked a little bit of everything. And we did talk some horses as well. And, you know, you can, I think that video will still be available on YouTube and whatever. It's just that, you know, they may mute some parts of it because, you know, there's music playing and stuff like that. So, but I'm not going to get into details of, you know, well, let me get into what I can tell you about last night. Usually what they do is when they have a show where you're on there till the end, you have a little cool down session behind the scenes, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, we were talking about 15 minutes afterwards. And I think the part that AJ was telling me that was about me was after the show ended. But if it's at the end of the show, no big deal. You know, if he did mention at the end of the show, then, you know, have at it, go watch the show. And, you know, you can see what we talked about. But I'm not going to get the details of what was told to me. But there are a couple of things that are going to be coming down the pike that involve me that are going to be interesting. Now, the things that I can say, because it's been mentioned on his show and in our hangouts and stuff like that, you know, hopefully we can get a day at parks. We can get a day at Monmouth Park, because he's actually a Jersey guy who's living in Florida now. So maybe we get a chance to go up to Monmouth Park. Parks is a little problematic for the most part because their live racing 98% of the time this year is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So, but there are some other things that could potentially be coming down the pipe here where I am excited about, and I'm hoping it'll grow even more. I did give some clues over the last couple of weeks, I believe. So if I did say something, you'll have to download the old podcast over the last couple of weeks, or, you know, the old podcasts and stuff like that. But sorry, I haven't been sleeping right the last couple of days. You know, I go to bed around 1:30. I wake up at 4:30 like clockwork. I go to sleep, wake up at 7 like clockwork, and then I finally fall back to sleep, and then it's 9:15. I get back up. So if I'm yawning a lot, I do apologize for those watching. But there are some exciting things that are coming up potentially for me, and if I mention some of those things in a past show or two, I'm not denying it, what I said. I'm not going to contradict what I said. I just, half the time I say stuff on here, I don't even remember what I say. And that's why I got to pull up the video that I have on my external drive or something. It's like, did I really say that? And I know, for example, one pick that I have for MLB, it will potentially be held against me if they finish dead last by 40 games. But seriously, I am really excited for some of the things that are coming up with Bleacher Brothers, and also take a look at the Bleacher Brothers website in general at bleacherbrothers.com. We are in the process of revamping the whole website, and even now you do have the sports ticker at the top of the screen. There's all kinds of stuff there. There's a betting thing there. And also, if you go down to the bottom of the page, take advantage of some of the betting offers if you're able to do it, because it would be nice to see some people take advantage of some of the offers that are on there, and I took advantage of one tonight, and that's why the show started late, because I had a money line wager on the Sixers and they lost by 1 tonight. So let me give one to the Sixers. And Nick Nurse almost turned into an evil nurse, as he was berating the refs after the loss, because he felt that I think it was Kelly Oubre who was fouled with 5 seconds left. Well, whoever was fouled, it was either him or Buddy Hield. Somebody was fouled. The ball got wedged between the rim and the backboard. That little corner shot, where it's like you just shoot the shot, it goes right in that thing. And I was a master at doing that in school. But he was not happy about it. I wasn't happy about it, but I should be getting my free wagers as a result of that, because it was my initial offer with Bet Rivers. And just take advantage of everything on that site if you're able to. And 1-800-GAMBLER, blah blah blah, the whole deal. But like I always tell you, and when I do my Philly fade picks, and I might even sneak that in tonight as well, if we have time, I will tell you this. Never bet over your head. Make sure your bills are paid first, all that stuff, all the common sense stuff. Because when I was giving out my picks every Thursday or Friday night, depending on when I would do my podcast or stream, I would always tell you, hey, this is rent week, so I'm not playing, but if I did, here's what I would play. But, you just gotta be responsible with your money. Make sure you don't go crazy. And if you win, if you win big, play America's favorite game, which is how the F do I get this money back in my bank account? And if you lose, don't double dip, and don't be Shohei's interpreter either. But, thankfully I don't have an interpreter. Sometimes I need one with the way that some people speak English in this country. Or, yeah. I mean, you either get Yoko Ono screaming when she thinks she's singing, or you get a bunch of people mumbling, like they're Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. You get one extreme or you get the other. You don't get that medium. But but this isn't a political show. This is a sports show. So, and one of the stories I have is going to be borderline political, but whatever. But but I'm always going to steer towards the sports side because with the way that politics is now, you go a little bit too far to the right, even though my hands are going to the left, because if you go too far in one direction, like there, then the other side gets all pissed off. And if you go a little too far this way, all this side gets pissed off. So you can't win, and especially with Twitter, Instagram. I don't know what they're doing on Facebook, but I guess they're going to throttle a lot of the political stuff because of the fact that it's such a toxic thing, and especially now. And by the way, even though RFK Jr. does have a chance, for the eye candy, and I tell you about the eye candy on the Bleacher Brothers show about Trevor Bauer's agent, Rachel Luba. I tell them all the time about the eye candy that she is. His vice president's vice is eye candy too. So, but that's about as political as I'm going to get, which I turned into a perv session. But what do you expect from me? But keep an eye on Bleacher Brothers. A lot of stuff going on, and who knows what I'll be doing over the next few months as well. So, but I do want to get into my first story, and this is probably going to sound political, and if it does, so be it. But over the weekend, and I'm reading stories from 3-4 days ago because I decided to skip last night because I was doing Bleacher Brothers. I knew I was going to be talking, and then I was on the phone and everything. So, Kim Mulkey had that press conference, if you want to call it that, where she was threatening to sue the Washington Post because they got a hit piece on me coming up, and they ran a story on the football coach Brian Kelly, and blah 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 blah. Well, I read that story, and I'll tell you what I thought of it a little bit. But for those that have been under a rock or under the rock, because rock beats rocks, whatever. But Kim Mulkey, the LSU coach, the resting bitch face that talks, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glad I'm single, because knowing my luck, I end up with somebody that has a severe case of resting bitch face and doesn't know when to shut the hell up. Well, in her case, she went Mount St. Kim this past weekend, and she threatened legal action against the Washington Post on Saturday, saying the paper spent 2 years pursuing a hit piece about her, and that it gave her a deadline to answer the questions this past week while defending national champion Tigers were preparing for the women's NCAA tournament. So you're telling me they've been trying to reach you for 2 years? And I'm not going to play the audio. I didn't get a chance to look it up, but I heard the video, and I was watching the DraftKings network on my Samsung TV, and Dan Le Batard was giving her a bunch of crap as well. But, and she said the lengths he has gone to try to put a hit piece together, which was in regards to the reporter who we think is Kent Babb. Now, she did not mention him by name, but he did reply this article, which was about Brian Kelly and the whole socioeconomic disparity in Baton Rouge. Mulkey said, after 2 years of trying to get me to sit down with him for an interview, so He had 2 years to talk. He Bab contacts. Well, she's saying it's Bab without mentioning his name. He contacted LSU on Tuesday as we are getting ready for the first round game of this tournament with more than a dozen questions demanding a response by Thursday, right before we're scheduled to tip off. Are you kidding me? Well, you had 2 years. You could have found out what those questions were 2 years ago and just said, yeah, I'm not answering the question or whatever. But, you know, she said that this was a ridiculous deadline that LSU and I cannot possibly meet, and the reporter knew it. It's just an attempt to prevent me from commenting and an attempt to distract us from the tournament. It ain't gonna work, buddy. That's what she said. Not that's what she said when it comes to joking about a comment, but now Babb did confirm to the Associated Press that he is working on a profile of Mulkey, but declined further comment. The Washington Post also declined comment. Now Babb has been working for the Washington Post for 14 years. He's been named Best in the Nation 3 different times for articles that he had. Now Mulkey's in her 3rd season at LSU. She started at Louisiana Tech, then went to Baylor, then went to LSU. Mulkey said she told Babb 2 years ago that she would not be interviewed by him because she did not appreciate the hit job he wrote on Brian Kelly. Now, I found that article right away on Twitter on Saturday, and I bookmarked it. I finally got a chance to read it. The issue was not Brian Kelly per se. The article was more about the socioeconomic divide between the arms race that the LSU athletics department has in general, which would include Kim Mulkey, who makes about $3-4 million a year, and the blight that is not far from the football stadium in Baton Rouge. And you hear about, and you read in the article about this one guy who's only making $12,000 a year, and he's only going back to school at LSU because he's an employee there, and because he's an employee there, he gets to go for free. I mean, I don't know what she's saying was a hit piece. I mean, yeah, it was the fact that Kelly's making $10 million a year essentially for 10 years. But that's not a hit piece on him. I mean, if it's a hit piece, it's on the athletics department and the school itself, not him. I mean, it was more about how you have basically the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. So if that's a hit piece, then I probably should even stop writing my Quills Picks Winners articles, because guess what? I'm writing these articles and I'm losing and losing and losing. Because, if Kim Mulkey saw my article, she'd say, oh, that's another loss. That's another loss. That's another loss. The correct article series should be Quills Picks Losers. But it was not a hit piece. Brian Kelly was barely mentioned in the article. And she is definitely hiding something here. And if she wants to sue the Washington Post, go ahead. You're not going to win. And if you do, it's probably because you're in some redneck county where they'll believe every word you say. But if you're in a neutral area, you're not going to win. Now, there was all kinds of things that are rumored to be mentioned in this article, and this article should be out soon on the Washington Post, and probably be, there's speculation that this whole article could potentially be next weekend, because, you know, if you don't need enough ratings because there's a potential of a Iowa LSU rematch in the regional finals next weekend. Sorry, I got a text there. I didn't know what it was. But, you know, I would definitely say that, you know, you can deny everything you can, but, you know, in any defamation case, it is so hard to prove that you've been defamed. Because so many things are he said, she said anyway. And unless it's totally wrong, you know, and, you know, what can you do? But, Bab wrote on Saturday on his Twitter, hit piece, ? With the link to the story where I found the story. I'm not going to let the Washington Post, or she said, Kim Mulkey said, I'm fed up. I'm not going to let the Washington Post attack this university. This awesome team of young women I have, or me, without a fight. I've hired the best defamation law firm in the country. Probably Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. And I will sue the Washington Post if they publish a false story about me. But she can be a very cantankerous person. She's been cantankerous with the media for years, even when she was in Baylor. You know, now there may be some truths in what she said, and you know, and she may be misconstruing things on top of lying and covering stuff up. She also says, not many people are in a position to hold these kinds of journalists accountable, and I am, and I will do it. But she also claims when my former coaches spoke to him and found out that I wasn't talking with the reporter, they were just distraught and they just felt completely misled. And she's also said former players had told her that the Post contacted them and offered to let them be anonymous in a story if they say negative things about me. But, you know, the one thing is, you know, I think it's near impossible to win a defamation suit. And, you know, I think a good journalist, and, you know, he's been awarded he's gotten 3 awards, Bab, that is. You know, I think that you could definitely say that, and Big Mike says, I hope this is not a distraction to the team. I think that LSU has been, I don't want to say a raging dumpster fire because they've actually won a ton of games this year, but Angel Reese disappeared for a few games. You know, Kim Mulkey can be a bit of a distraction as well, and you know, and I would definitely say, you know, I mean, I don't even know who LSU is playing in the women's tourney next. That's how out of sorts I can be from time to time. LSU plays UCLA. And of course, I can guarantee you right now, Mike, let's say LSU loses to UCLA. And UCLA's got a damn good team. I think they were top 10 most of the year. I guarantee They lose. Oh, it was Bab's fault. It was this fault. It was that fault. You know, unless they get blown out by 40, because if they lose by 40, oh, they just kicked our ass, and that's probably an argument that you can have. But um, but I just think that you know even though the timing is suspicious, I will give you that. I will give her that credit. But you had 2 years to respond, and I can understand a defending a fellow coach, but I read the article, and it was not a hit piece. It wasn't a hit piece directly at Brian Kelly. Now, if she said it was about the athletics department, maybe. But her saying it's just the football part, you know, I disagree with it because of the fact that, you could, if you read it, you could see that he's barely mentioned in there. He was in a diner in Baton Rouge or something like that, and he's mentioned that he just got there and whatever. But I'm just tired. I mean, Kim Mulkey, she's got the permanent resting bitch face, and it's it's just like, no, shut up, shut up, shut up. But I'm just afraid. And when is that game? Is it Saturday? It's a Saturday 1:00 game. And the way that they do the regionals there annoys the hell out of me. Because they have 2 regions in Albany where they basically play 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday, and then the Regional 1 final on Sunday and the Regional 2 final on Monday. And the same is true with Region 3 in Portland, Region 4 in Portland. But I'm kind of rooting for UCLA to blow them out by about 50. I really am. It's not going to happen. It's going to be a close game. It's 2 versus 3. And I don't even know if there's a line on the game yet. But we'll see what happens. So let's go on to another story that came up over the last day or two. Actually, it's from yesterday. And now, Spokane, Washington was the Mecca. Not the Mecca in Milwaukee, which is still around, but it's under another name. But Spokane, Washington was the Mecca for college basketball last weekend. Because not only did they have the men's tourney at some arena, they also had the women's tourney in Spokane as well. And I know some people are going to say, well, how did they work that out? Well, the men's tourney, the sites are determined years in advance. And they knew about 2-3 years ago that they would host a sub-regional or a pod. Let's call it a pod because that's basically what it is. They were getting to host first and second round games. Now, the women's tourney, and Mike might remember this from last year, but the top 4 seeds, if they are available, if the arenas are available, will host the first 2 rounds of the tourney. So The first 2 rounds in the women's tourney is on campus sites. So what you have to do is you have to make accommodations for 3 teams traveling parties. So like for example, Gonzaga was the number 4 seed, and wait a second, what seed was it again? Seed number 4. Um, so you had 2 teams, you had 3 teams flying into Spokane, and one of them was the University of Utah. And I have the other 2 here, I just don't know who they are off the top of my head. It was it was also South Dakota State and UC Irvine. And I have to tell you, when you're in Irvine, when you're in that area, and the fog lifts, UC Irvine. But up. Anyways, have to lighten the mood here with what I'm about to mention on this here. Now, yeah, geez, that was a bad one. Utah coach Lynn Roberts said her team experienced a series of racial hate crimes last week after arriving at its first NCAA tournament hotel and was forced to change hotels for security reasons. Since I'm trying not to curse, I'll just say, what the F. Coach Roberts did not go into detail, but said on Monday that there were several incidents that happened last Thursday night after the team arrived in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is located about 30 miles away from Spokane, Washington. Now, usually they would have stayed in Spokane, or as close as possible, because they have an agreement with the NCAA that they will keep them as close as possible. And this issue came up in the college baseball tournament last year, where one of the seeds was actually hosting, and they still hosted, but they had limited hotel rooms available. But there was but they did get a waiver, and if I find it in here, I know I highlighted it, because trust me, I did get a new printer this week, and you can actually see pictures much more clearly now. It's like, hey, cutie. No, seriously. You can see all the yellow that's on there. Now, KSL.com, which is probably the TV or radio station out there. I'm trying to think of something witty to say, like KMA would be Kiss My, but I can't think of anything KSL. And Mike, don't even try to think of a name here, because my brain's fried. KSL.com reported early on Tuesday that the N-word was yelled at members of the Utah basketball team, along with members of the traveling party, including cheerleaders and the school band, on multiple occasions when they were walking to and from a restaurant near the hotel in Coeur d'Alene. Now, I remember this from when a coworker actually did training out there in Coeur d'Alene. He was actually a trainer. He got it too. But I think even more now, and I'm trying not to go on a political slant here, but it is mentioned. They do mention the. I think they do mention on here, and if it's not, it was another thing here. They do. And as soon as I saw this article, and if you follow me on Twitter at Joe Quills, I did say I'm not surprised that these hillbillies, I think I call them hillbillies, they were up to no good, and it's a real brave thing to use that word, I mean, it's just so. I mean, it's just so frustrating that we still see this in 2023. It just seems like, especially since over the last 10 years, you know, for every step forward, there's 3 steps back, you know. And the one thing I will tell you, me personally, I mean, whether it's if you're going to work for me on my podcast or stream, or we're going to be co-workers or friends or anything like that, I could not give a rat's ass what your skin color is, except for maybe if you're green or purple. Green because you're an alien, and Big Mike does say it's frustrating. Now, green, I'm worried about because you're an alien. Not an illegal alien that um, that GIMP governor is shipping all over the United States. That GIMP governor in Texas, Abbott. You know, I'm talking about those green ones, as like you saw in the Flintstones. You know, those green aliens. You know, and if you're purple, you need oxygen fast or you're going to die. That's what I meant by that. But, you know, I couldn't give a rat's ass what your skin color is. You know, just do your job. You know, and that's why, like, and, you know, I'm going back and forth with different things here. And I got a story here coming up, the sorbet story that I have coming up next. You know, I couldn't even give a rat's ass if you're male or female. And I couldn't care either sexual orientation, if you cut your dick off, and 1053 if you count dick as a curse word. Yeah, I couldn't care less. You know, I'll respect you as a person. You respect me as a person. You know, give to get. You know, that whole routine. You know, I couldn't care less. But if I'm going to call you out on something, it's not. I'm not going to call you out because of race, because of color, sex, or anything like that. I couldn't give a rat's ass about that. You know, what you do on your time, what you do in the bedroom, you know, what you have to do to make yourself ease some of the mental health issues that you have. You know, whatever you got to do it. You know, but you know, if you're not cutting it in work, in this and that, anything that would be something that I would be concerned about, then I would have a problem. But I know that this is frustrating no matter who says it. You know, I mean, we're all sick of it. And it's just like 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Now, the first incident that occurred, and this was according to the Deputy Athletic Director, Charmel Green, who is black, according to the article. And I say that because I'm using the article's words here. She told KSL.com the first incident occurred when the team was walking from the hotel to the restaurant. So who knows where this restaurant is? I imagine in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, you know, probably like across the street, probably. An identified person in a white truck revved the vehicle's engine near the team before yelling the N-word in the team's direction and speeding off. You know, real small-dicked energy. You know, kind of like you see a person racing a parking lot. And that reminds me, end of July, I got a Phillies tailgate with my high school graduating class, and here's a little sorbet in the middle of the story. Guy's revving his car and he's racing across the parking lot, and he's racing across the parking lot, and he goes, "Small penis!" And as he's saying it, behind him is this little kid and his parents. I'm like, oh my God. And it wasn't me. So, Mike, don't even say it was me, because if it is, I will get up on this chair when you come here next. I'll tell you it wasn't me. And that's it. And that's because Mike is really tall. But, seriously, you know, you know, it takes a lot of courage for a person in a van yelling that and driving off. Kind of like the person yesterday. I think it was yesterday, or was it this morning? I think it was this morning, because I made a Dunkin' run because I don't have much food in the apartment right now, only because, you know, it's not a money issue, it's just a time issue. I was like, I'll walk to Dunkin'. And car didn't even stop at the red light. And Mike, if you're familiar with some of the other streets in my area, behind the building across the street was where I was at. And I go to start crossing the street. I'm like, yeah, I'm not crossing the street, because the guy just didn't even stop at the stop sign. I was like, you know what? Probably a stolen car. You know what? You're going to get caught, buddy. It's just not going to be me, because I didn't get the plate. So be lucky that I was more worried about getting my coffee and my sandwich back into my apartment so I could start work in about 20 minutes. So, but Charmel Green also said, we're all just in shock. We looked at each other and just said, did we just hear that? Yeah, so it's not my street. It's that street behind the building across the street where it comes into that goofy intersection behind me, where you would be able to see if I was streaming during the day, which I can't really do because of the light coming in. But all right, I'll just tell you where it is. It's the next block down, because the street that's behind here, that block in between Bustleton and Large, which is Horrocks, or Horrocks, however you pronounce it, and Horrocks and Nathel. You know, guy just was like, I was just like, good luck, buddy. You're going to get caught eventually. But, you know, I can, next time you're up here, I can mention it if I remembered, or you remember me talking about it. But, so they were in shock, obviously so, because, they just kept walking, shook their heads, couldn't believe what they heard. So they added that the truck had a Confederate flag. Surprise, surprise. They said a team from another school was with the Utes at the time, but did not identify the school. So I'm guessing it's one of those two other schools that were flying in for the tournament. So I guarantee you it was not Gonzaga's women's team. Now, a similar incident took place about 2 hours later as the team was leaving the restaurant. Green said 2 trucks parked near the team began revving their engines before people inside the vehicles again yelled the N-word at their direction. About 100 people were around in the area that night, but investigators still need to interview those affected. 2 state charges could be enforced: malicious harassment, disorderly conduct if someone is arrested. I doubt they will. I doubt anybody's getting arrested here, only because, it's such a cowardly thing, blah, blah, blah. Off they go. Um, they're also working with the FBI, but they probably have more information than they're leading on as well. So, and also with the way everything is right now, the way everybody is with their cameras, and like, uh, not sure if Mike. No, Mike has not seen it. The next neighbor down on my side of the building, I'm in 213, so 214. They have a Ring camera on their door, and it's 2024. What the hell? Agreed. Now, one thing I will say, you can tell it's 2024 in my apartment because somebody has a Ring camera, which is fine. It's just that every time I walk by that door, and you can find videos of what I'm talking about here from other people, I want to see what happens if I fart really loud. I want to see if I could do that without shitting myself, but I don't think, I don't know if they can actually, but the thing is, I wonder if they have it on backwards in some regards as well, because I can actually hear it ringing every once in a while when somebody goes to that apartment. So I don't know. I don't have a Ring camera, so I wouldn't know. But whatever, unless it's them paging them back and saying, hey, we're not here, get out, something like that. But I don't know. But they may have more information that they're leading on to, and kind of like the Shohei Ohtani story that I'll talk about as I'm catching up on my stories here. There may be something that they know that they're not letting the public know. Now, the NCAA and Gonzaga worked together to move Utah's team after the first night in Coeur d'Alene. Okay, here's the part that I was telling about. A ring fart? Yeah. I'm an evil sadistic bastard at times. But I think what I need to do is I need to go over there with a bag over my head where they will know it's me, but they'll know it's me anyway because, how many fat people live just to the right, just to the left of them, I mean, because the guy across the hallway is thin and bald. He's shaved bald. I'm receding bald. But here's the part that I was mentioning before. Several years ago, Spokane was announced as a host for the first and second rounds of the men's NCAA tournament, and there was also a large regional youth volleyball tournament that weekend as well. So there was limited hotel space. So Gonzaga received a waiver from the NCAA to allow teams to be housed in Coeur d'Alene. So they'll try to keep them as close as possible to Spokane, Washington, or wherever site it is. Like for example, if they, bad example of Philadelphia, let's say you got 6, 7, 8 major events coming up, we can move them to Cherry Hill, we can move them to Delaware. Like for example, Game 5 of the World Series, after the game got suspended, Tampa Bay had to stay, I believe, in Wilmington, Delaware, because they had checked out thinking, all right, well, win or lose, we're going home. Well, you weren't going home because, game got suspended and you had to sit around 2 extra days. So, but you got to guarantee a certain amount of hotel space. But at least for the women, you got to worry about only 3 teams, because the way that they do the hosting is, Gonzaga is the host site. I imagine they use their on-campus arena, which did not conflict with the men's tournament. So, you had that, and you did have you did have that volleyball tournament. I'm sure it was probably like a regional or a state tournament. So you had all the hotel rooms done, and you know, but you don't know you're hosting until the very last minute. I don't know if the NCAA says, "Hey, Gonzaga, you're a top four team in this region. You're going to be hosting. What about the hotel rooms?" I imagine they would, because there have been times in the past where they do say, I think it was Kentucky a couple of years ago, or I might be confusing the NIT, but they may say, well, Gonzaga's the 4, but we're going to host it at the 5 seed because the 4 doesn't have enough hotel room. But either way, Gonzaga issued a statement that their first priority is the safety and welfare of everyone participating in the event. I mean, even a random game, let alone an NCAA tournament game. Idaho's governor said that there's no place for racism, hate, or bigotry in the great state of Idaho. We condemn the bullies who seek to harass and silence others. But I did see, and it might have been a different article here, that there are all different kinds of hate groups that have been, yeah, here it is. Far-right extremists have made a presence in the region of Spokane in northern Idaho. In 2018, at least 9 hate groups operated in the region. But, I'm sick of stories like this, whether it's something like that or, but, it's my, this is my platform, and, I get to say what I want. And, just knock it off. Because there's more important things to worry about, like I said before, I couldn't give a rat's ass skin color, gender, sexual orientation, intelligence, that's something different. But that's a story for another day. Now, I did see this article, and this is the article that my good friend SJ may have accidentally let me know what was going on with this, because I have this routine when I start work, as long as it's not too busy, and it leads me to 2 or 3 assholes on Facebook who think that I'm available 24/7, and even with my messenger off, they still message me. Hi. One person was telling me, why didn't they just put a roof on Citizens Bank Park? Stupid shit like that I don't need. So, I have this routine. I post on, I pull up my article once it gets posted, and AJ times it that the article gets up around 11 o'clock, and thankfully it's 11 o'clock, because twice in the last month, I've had to give myself one of those, because I did not post. I did not put the Word file on my screen, on the email. Like, I had the day that Uncle Ernie won, and I will give you a hint right now. We might be doing some Uncle Ernie stuff in the next couple of months, so possibly. But I think that what I am projecting Uncle Ernie's next race to be, which would be the Paige McKinney Handicap, April 23rd, I think it is. It's a Monday. I request off Tuesdays and Wednesdays when I work, when we have weekends that we're working. So, not going to be able to go. But there's other things in the works. I'll just leave it at that. But, and I don't know where I was going with this, but, And as you can tell, my ADD and ADHD and LMNOP is taking over. But oh, my routine. That's right. I have a routine. Once the article's up, I share it on. I share it on my Twitter first, and within 2 minutes, there's an account Picks _ free if you want to follow him, because that person just retweets everybody's horse racing stuff, and he's also shared my Twitch announcements as well. Within 2 minutes, I'm sitting there. I'm getting the post ready for Facebook, and I see the alert on my phone. Picks free, reposted. And it's, like for example, because I put on the title Monday 3/26, even though yesterday was Tuesday. And I am hoping they go back to parks next week on the Daily Racing Forum, because I'm 0 for 4 at Will Rogers Downs, and I can't make a goddamn thing. I can't make any sense of that track right now. But, I took a joke that I tell from time to time about the blonde going into the elevator. I won't get into it. Mike's probably heard it about 10 times already. I turned it into... I think I said it on Facebook. I don't know if I said it on Twitter or not. I said SHIT 11. What's that 11 for? Oh, you want me to tell it 11th time? I'm not telling it. But, SHIT usually stands for Sorry Honey, It's Thursday. So, because I am a master at making fun of myself, and, since we are Bleacher Brothers, we're a bit unfiltered. I'm probably the most filtered of the group, even though we strive to be PG-13. I know I posted on either Facebook or Twitter. I might have did on both. I posted SHIT, silly honky, it's Tuesday. Because I did not wipe out enough of the title from the Monday file. Because I just keep the file and just start typing. So, but, I gotta make fun of myself from time to time. But little sorbet before the sorbet, and the sorbet is Caitlin Clark. Now, I'm not going to talk about her being ranting and raving and on the court. I expect, I'd rather have an athlete ranting and raving about different things. But apparently, Caitlin Clark today, or it came out today on social media, that Iowa women's basketball star Caitlin Clark has been offered $5 million to play in the Big 3 League, according to co-founder Ice Cube. Ice Cube wrote on Twitter, it says X here, I still call it Twitter. I haven't gotten a directive from AJ or anybody else that I have to call it X, so if I call it Twitter, and Mike said he saw it. I don't think you saw what I said for a comment on, or did I post the comment? Don't tell me, Mike. Let me build up the suspense here. No, I didn't. Okay. So he saw the story, but I did not share the article on Facebook today. So, anyways. My friend Chris Garrity is such... he's a bit irreverent too, and he might be a guy that I get on this show eventually. Um, he said he reposted a comment that somebody had on Twitter. Mind that bird, Rich Strike, and Anna Marie. What do these three have in common? Chris Garrity. They all stink. Oh my God. Anyways, and I hope my friend SJ did say, did understand what I was saying here, because the one thing is about the big three, in my opinion, is the big three, in my opinion, is a waste of time in the summer. I mean, it's nice that we get to see a bunch of has-beens and never-will-be's playing 3-on-3. I knew there was a reason I'd like Chris. Yeah, I'm going to try to get him on. You know, it's just that I start so late because I don't want to step on the toes of Bleacher Brothers, and also keep myself open in case they need me like they needed me last night. Well, I don't want to say needed me, but you get the idea. So, Ice Cube said we intended to offer to remain private while Caitlin Clark plays for the championship, but I won't deny what's now already out there. Big Three made an historic offer to Caitlin Clark. Why wouldn't we? Caitlin is a generational talent who can achieve tremendous success in the Big Three. But here's the thing. If you want me to watch the Big Three, which, I tried watching the first season, and, it was a little bit interesting, but in a way, there's so much other things that are on, whether it's baseball or even now with WNBA and who knows what else. It's just not exciting enough for me. And in some ways, they tweaked rules in the middle of the year, and I think they got the rules after 3 and 4 seasons where, they got things under control now. But I don't want to see a bunch of old guys playing, or guys that, never really did much in the NBA or never did much overseas or anything like that, or just looking for a paycheck from Ice Cube or anything like that. 3-on-3 basketball is an Olympic sport. Can we grow the game a little bit? Now, maybe they've tried to skew a little bit younger with the league in terms of the players in the league. Maybe they've done that, and I just don't know it. I just haven't, I didn't research it, and and if I didn't research it and I'm wrong, then so be it. But I just think with 3-on-3 basketball being an Olympic sport, why are we skewing towards an old-timers game when you can make it even bigger and grow stars that way as well? And I understand why Ice Cube did this with Caitlin Clark, and probably it's never going to happen. Now, what I said exactly to my friend SJ yesterday, or earlier today, shit, where'd it go? I got too many things open right now. I said here, the Big Three has been mismanaged since day one. We had 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics, but has-beens in Big Three until this offer. Now, I may be right. Then again, I didn't get much in the way of views on it, but I really think if you're going to grow 3-on-3 basketball, you got to get younger guys. And it's going to be tough because you have NBA, and they can't do the Big Three in the off season or stuff like that. And this year is probably a tough year for the Big Three because you also got the Olympics this year. But Now, Clark was unavailable for comment. One other thing that Ice Cube did say here, the skeptics laughed when we made Nancy Lieberman the first female coach of a men's pro team. She won the championship in her first year. Then Lisa Leslie won it all in year 2. With our offer, Caitlin Clark can make history and break down even more barriers for women's athletes, which is true. But you have more of a controlled environment in 3-on-3 basketball than you would full court 5-on-5. Now, ESPN reached out to the WNBA and the league's players union on whether Clark playing in another league would be allowed under the collective bargaining agreement. The league has prioritization rules in its CBA which can affect players who participate in overseas leagues, but it remains to see whether they would prevent Clark's Big Three participation. And the one thing I would think, and once again, I'm probably wrong. Probably not even the first time since I started the show tonight that I was wrong. But I would imagine, in order to be part of the WNBA Players Union, you would actually have to be a WNBA player. Now, I would think, as long as once she signs that contract, she's a union member. But if she says in 2 weeks or whenever she's out of the tournament, she could just say, deuces, I'm playing for the Big Three. She could do that. But I think she would rather play 5-on-5 because she's probably going to be playing in the next 4 or 5 Summer Olympics with the U.S. team. I don't know if she's going to be playing this year, but you know, she's going to be playing. The NBA had no comment, but a spokesperson did say that Caitlin Clark stands to make $500,000 or more in WNBA earnings this coming season, in addition to what she will receive through endorsements and other partnerships, which have been reported to already exceed $3 million. And she's got all kinds of sponsorships already. She's got Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, and Gamebridge, which is the naming rights for the arena in Indianapolis where the WNBA's Fever and NBA's Pacers play. Now, Ice Cube said that he thinks it's definitely doable in his mind for Clark to play in the Big Three in WNBA. He said it would take a 10-week commitment on Saturdays on Clark's part, accounting for the league's playoffs. But the problem is, the WNBA sometimes plays on Saturdays. I just think that once she signs with probably Indiana because they have the #1 pick in the draft, I guarantee you that she will, when she plays WNBA, she won't be able to play the Big Three until after her contract is up. If she ever plays that. And who knows, maybe eventually, maybe over time, maybe Ice Cube spins off the Big Three and has a Big Three for women. Who knows? But you know, but it's interesting to see. I mean, that was an interesting story that came up. It's a nice sorbet to everything, and we'll go from there. So, you know what? I am going to skip the Shohei Ohtani story for now, only because I'm already at a hour and 17 minutes. I don't feel like talking for 3 hours after working 8 hours and doing whatever, but I do want to give out my MLB predictions for this year. And as I was sitting here tonight, getting ready for the show, I went on DraftKings and I played Not one, not two, not three, but how many? Oh, four. I placed 4 divisional wagers this year. One of them is influenced because of Mike is asking me how many. 11. Oh wait, not 11. I'm sorry. There's only 6 divisions. I put in 4 wagers. Bank, welcome in. Bank, Big Mike, Bank Boy. Bank Boy is part of the SJ group. He also is part of the Bridget Case group that whose streams I watch from time to time as well. You know, nice to see we got all these good dudes here tonight. So, anyways, my MLB prediction's sure to go wrong, and I did them last year, and yeah, I don't have a World Series future wager right now because I don't have a feeling right now. And if I have a feeling, it's probably the Dodgers or the Braves or the Orioles or the Texas Rangers. I'm going to let the first month or 2 play out like I did last year. Last year I got Baltimore at 35-1. They won the division. They just were deer in headlights. But let's begin with the AL East. Baltimore won the division last year. They won 101 games last year. I think Baltimore wins the division again. I think that the failure that they had last year will build them in the right direction for this year. And I think that they needed that experience. And like I was saying last year when we got close to the playoffs, there's one of 2 things that they do. They're either impervious to the headlights and they just run wild on the American League, or they just stand there with a deer in headlights and they lose, which is what they did. And you know, they lost 3 straight games. And Bank, thank you as well for the quote repost there. So thank you as well. I see the alerts going off on my phone. That's why I go like this and stuff like that all the time. So Baltimore is my American League pick. AL East pick, I should say. Toronto, I'm wondering how many more years they have with this group. You know, because their core young group is starting to get to the point where they're about to get Mike, don't ruin my segment because that may be where I'm going with my picks. Damn it. You know what, Mike? I got to give you one of those. And Mike, you are the first person other than me to get one of these on my stream. And I'm sure Tony Bruno would have done the same thing with you as well, if I requested it from him. But Toronto, I'm wondering how many more years that they have with the core group. Because you figure eventually over time, because not only are they paying, I mean, the one thing you got to remember with Canadian teams, one thing you have to remember, the money that they're getting in to the team, it's all right, Mike. Yeah, you know I'm busting your balls. Canadian teams are, in this case, just Toronto because they're the only MLB team in Canada. They're receiving money for their tickets and all that in Canadian currency, but they're paying salaries in American currency, so you do have that exchange rate thing involved. But Toronto is owned by a corporate conglomerate, so they'll probably spend some big Canadian money on some players, and I probably will be sounding like I'm talking out of my ass like I usually do, and even typing out of my ass when it comes to my articles. But I think Toronto has one more good year. But then again, I don't know the contract situation off the top of my head. And believe it or not, I usually get the basic contract information from Out of the Park Baseball, where even though they're unofficial, they're pretty damn accurate. So, but I think Toronto will finish second. The Yankees, I have them finishing third. I just think that they don't have any pitching right now. And Aaron Judge is hurt. Giancarlo Stanton's about to get hurt. DJ LeMahieu's out right now. And I just think that they've, I mean, how Aaron Boone still has a job with the Yankees is amazing to me. And I have them finishing third. Tampa Bay, I think they're going to have a disappointing year this year. I have them finishing fourth. And I have the Boston Red Sox last. But I'm going to give you the same caveat that I gave last year. I will not be surprised if all 5 teams are over 500 or 500 and above. Because last year I said that, and I just want to double check that because I don't know last year's final standings off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Boston was in it till the end, but they finished up 78 and 84. So, yeah, so you do. I wouldn't be surprised if all 5 teams are over 500 this year, and they were trending that way most of the year last year. So, don't be surprised if all 5 are at 500 or better. Now let's go to the Central. Actually, with this, what I should have done is I should have gone from the bottom up, but I'm going to do it purposely here. The Chicago White Sox, they are a raging dumpster fire on the south side. And they're eventually going to get a new stadium. They're looking at a parcel of land just to the south of the Loop, which is more toward the downtown area. But that's still a few years away. I know there was speculation even with Arlington Park that I tried to start, but they're a horrible team, and they may be challenging Oakland for worst record in the American League. I have them finishing last. Cleveland, and I know Mike saw this on my Facebook. Not this upcoming Monday, but the following Monday, the 8th, we have a solar eclipse coming. And Cleveland has their home opener on that day. And they are going to delay opening day until 5 o'clock so that nature can do its thing and go completely dark, so that when 5 o'clock comes around, the sun will be back. Players won't burn their eyes out looking up the sun for a fly ball accidentally. So it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of the phenomena that occurs that won't occur again until 2044, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson said when I saw it on Facebook the other day. But, I think the best thing is, that's probably going to be the best thing in Cleveland's favor this year because, they're a small market team. And I think this is going to be a horrible division. But I have Cleveland finishing 4th. Finishing 3rd, I have Kansas City. And I was reading an article on ESPN, and yeah, I should be reading Bleacher Brothers more, okay? But there was an article about the Dodgers because they're the super team, because they're buying everything in sight, and they just re-upped with Will Smith for 10 years. Not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the catcher for the Dodgers. And I'm sure the Dodgers want me to have Will Smith's name out of my mouth. Oh, wait, wrong Will Smith. But out of the park baseball, which is the baseball game that I play in my spare time, and they did 10. I think they did 10 simulated seasons, and Kansas City was in 2 of those 10 World Series. And I think they actually won a World Series. So I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe I need to do 10. Maybe I need to do 10, 10 simulations on my computer when I update the game tonight. I have them finishing third, and that leaves Minnesota and Detroit. I think Minnesota may be a little fat after finally getting the monkey off their back of winning a playoff game, let alone a series. I think they're going to finish second to the Detroit Tigers. And these were one of my 4 wagers that I had put in today. Now, my normal unit for wagering is $25 in the sports book. I only put 10 down because, I don't want to have too much money sitting in my book, in my DraftKings, waiting to be cashed or trashed. But I got Detroit winning the Central. I just think that, with the manager and, everything, Detroit was sneaky in the fact that they were still alive for the division last year, but they were out of the wild card till the very end. So keep an eye on Detroit this year. And I'm going to say playoff baseball returns to Detroit in 2024 as they win the AL Central. To the AL West, Oakland, I have them finishing last. And nobody's going to care in Oakland unless they get an extension. Who knows where they're going to play next year? It could be Sacramento. It could be Salt Lake City. They're not going to be able to play in Vegas till 28 because the stadium that their AAA team is at, it's not expandable. And then on top of that, you have lighting issues and everything else. And then you got the heat in the summer months. So you're probably going to have to play a game at 7 o'clock in the morning, which baseball would not allow. So they're talking about Sacramento, they're talking about Salt Lake City. I gave, even though it would be impeding on the Kansas City market, I said Omaha. Not because of Peyton Manning, but Omaha has 2 stadiums out there that seat over 20,000 for minor league baseball. Well, one's minor league baseball and one is for the College World Series. So that's what I think they should go. But the 2 that they're looking at are Sacramento and Salt Lake City. But I haven't seen anything recent with that. But I have Oakland finishing last in what appears to be their swan song season, and in typical Oakland, with the owner that they have, they got nowhere to go right now for next year, because all the other moves that they had, all the other MLB teams had a place to play. Oakland does not. I had the Angels finishing 4th. I wouldn't be surprised if they got up to 3rd. But I think Ron Washington needs a year with the team, because Ron Washington's a damn good manager, even though he was the enabler of all the hot dog buffoonery that the Braves had last year. But I have the Angels finishing 4th. Some shocking news here. Finishing 3rd, the Houston Astros. Now, Verlander's out for a little while, but I think, even though they still have all the pieces, they're another year older, but I'm wondering how good that manager is. And he may be fine, it may be that there's no difference between Dusty and this new guy, but I think they're going to take a step back this year, and I have them finishing third. Finishing second, the Texas Rangers. And why do I say that? Their top two pitchers are out for at least half the season. Scherzer's out, DeGrom is out, and they officially lost Jordan Montgomery yesterday, even though he was technically a free agent. They lost him in November. They're still going to hit. Corey Seager's out. They got a whole bunch of injuries going on at the start of the year. They'll probably make up the difference later in the year, but I don't think they're going to win the division, which leads me to Seattle to win the American League West this year. So I think that they will win the American League West. They got the taste of the playoffs 2 years ago. They missed last year. I think they're back this year as division champs, and they would get a bye because I had the top two seeds. And Pork Chop Express with the censored potty mouth. And you know what? I forgot. I have to give the Portland Timbers one of those. I didn't watch a game, but I saw the alerts on my phone and stuff like that because I was watching college basketball all night. But I didn't even watch the game. But we do have a good backup goalie. Andre Blake was smoking some ganj with the Jamaican team, and because they were in the CONCACAF Nations League or whatever it is. But I do have. I missed the game, but I do know that the Union won 3-0, and my wager that I would have had would have been a loser. And you know what? Sometimes in soccer, 3-0 games or 3-0 games look like 0-0 to you if you really watch the game and you really know the game like Pork Chop does. And you have games that are 3-0 where it could 3-0 where you swear it was like 15-0. But Portland's a good team. I just think that or 3-1, yeah, that's right. You could have told me the Union won 17-1, and I would have agreed with you. But it was the Union's first win on the year, and I should have worn my Union jersey, but I didn't. I wore my plain Navy shirt because I didn't. I'm being a good soldier here, not rubbing it in with rubbing in the win. I'll let me not rub it in, because if I rub it in, I know that these teams would end up meeting in the MLS Cup, and Pork Chop will be like, "Hey, we won the cup. Here's your bird of Philadelphia, okay?" But no, I don't even know anything about like the background or anything like that, because of the fact that I was so ensconced on the NCAA tournament all weekend. If you were to see my wagering on DraftKings, I was betting essentially from 10 a.m. to from noon to midnight, and it was like 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss. I couldn't get 3-4 wins in a row. I couldn't get a parlay. I did have one on I did have a parlay on Friday, but it was a was it Friday? It was a free wager, and I turned $7.50 into $92. But yeah. See, I don't know the whole story of what happened going into the game, because part of the issue was you had the CONCACAF, and it was it was the lot of qualifiers that weekend as well, and the the MLS has a schedule that's totally opposite from the rest of the world. So, because the MLS is just starting their season, the rest of the world is about 2 months away from finishing up here. So my playoff teams this year in the American League: Baltimore will be the number one seed. Seattle will be two. Detroit three. The wild cards in order: Texas, Toronto, Minnesota. But I'm not going to tell you who the AL champion is as of yet. Um, into the National League. And I do have a bold prediction here as well, with that in a couple of minutes. Finishing last, and this may be a situation where you may have a situation in the National League East like you do in the American League East, where you may have all 5 teams at 500 or better. And the bottom 2 teams may be 81 and 81 each, or maybe 81 and 81 and 82 and 80. But they won't be up at the top of the division. I have Miami last. Part of it is more the front office, because Kim Ng, who was the first female general manager, I believe she left there. Let me just double check that, because yeah, she was the first woman to serve as a general manager, but she is now an American executive in Major League Baseball. Yeah, she left. She left the Marlins this offseason. That's right. So I just wanted to make sure that's the case. I think Kim Ng is a hell of a person in terms of a general manager and MLB executive. And like I said an hour ago when I was saying that, when I was telling you about the Utah women's basketball story out in Spokane, I couldn't give a rat's ass if you're male or female with a job in sports. If you're working your ass off and you're doing it the right way, no problems whatsoever. And I had no problem with Kim Ng. I mean, she worked with the Dodgers and a couple other teams as well, and and probably just didn't like the way things were in Miami. She did her thing, and it's like, I got to move on from this. So it's everybody has to make that decision in life. But I got the Marlins finishing last. I think the Washington Nationals are going to improve a little bit. They're still a year or two away from being back, being competitive in terms of fighting for that playoff spot. I think the NL East is too tough for them. They'll take advantage of playing some of the bottom feeders in other divisions in baseball, but I have them finishing fourth. I have the Mets finishing third. Now, here's my bold prediction for the New York Mets. And it may happen, it may not happen, depending upon where the Mets are at the trading deadline. And you can use this against me if the Mets win the World Series or get to the World Series or anything like that. I really think Pete Alonso gets traded this offseason, because they tried to work a deal out, or at least they tried to, I think. At least I think they did. They're not going to negotiate during the season, which tells me that he is pretty much out the door at the end of the year. And if somebody needs a first baseman or a right-handed power hitting hitter to be a DH even, I really think that he would be on the trade market. Now, if doesn't have a no trade clause, and I doubt that he does, and Big Mike says no Alonso, it's just a gut feeling that I have, Mike. And you know me, when I have my gut feelings, I am dead on, or I am so far off. I'm out beyond the left field I'm out. I'm out in Section X of the Citizens Bank Park parking lot. That's how far out I am. And you know exactly what I'm talking about by that, because that's our former parking area, because they do things differently at the park now. But I just get the feeling that the Mets are going to trade him and try to get prospects, or maybe even get a couple players back that they can use this year even. It's just a gut feeling. I'm probably wrong. And I joked around on the Bleacher Brothers show because I was busting balls because they had a Mets fan from Big Fan Rivalry who's Top Fan Rivalry, excuse me, who's a partner with the Bleacher Brothers. And, if you remember the story from last year, Pete Alonso almost had an accident on the field. That's because he had his coffee a little bit later in the morning, and it was a day game. And he went to the plate, and the urge started to happen. And he said, I'm swinging first pitch, and I don't care if it's 3 feet over my head or bounces 4 times to the plate, I'm swinging. So he gets a first pitch, rocks a homer, runs around the bases, and then to the bathroom to drop a number 2. And you can find that that is a true story. He did mention that, because the coffee started working at the wrong time, right when he was about to go to plate. But he did hit a home run at that. So, but I think Pete Alonso is going to get traded. So I think the Phillies finished second. Now there are red flags here. AJ was mentioning it the last couple of nights. He's really concerned with Bryce Harper because of the fact that he's having back issues, and he saw it when he was growing up watching Don Mattingly. He gave new meaning to the runs. Yep, he did. So there's a lot of concerns with that. Now, I'm concerned about the bullpen, but the issue happened in the postseason. Now, you did have some injuries. You did have Michael Lorenzen, who's no longer with the Phillies. And then you had the mysterious case of Taijuan Walker, who was all pissed because he did not pitch at all in the postseason. Then he was pissed. And I said after the season, well, if you want to pitch and you're not in the starting rotation, then why don't you force yourself into the bullpen and say, hey, coach, I'm here, I'm available. And now he has a shoulder injury. And I'm wondering, did he have a shoulder injury last year? So the Phillies are going to have 2 people on the IL. I still call it the disabled list. Probably because they changed it because, when I think it was Tim Worrell, Todd Worrell's brother, when he was with the Phillies, he took a mental leave of absence. I said he was on the mentally disabled list. They probably caught wind of it and whatever. But Walker's going to be on the DL, and I believe it's a shoulder. And if it's a shoulder, that's worse than like a shoulder surgery. That is usually worse than an elbow injury. But he's out, and the rookie phenom that went 4 levels. Wait, how many levels did he go? 4. He went from low A all the way to the majors. Orion Kerkering is going to end up on the DL because he missed a couple of weeks because he was ill. Probably got the case of Hershey squirts, a little bit of COVID, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You got everything thrown at him probably. I don't know. But he's going to be missing the first couple of weeks of the season. It's probably I believe it's an extended spring training issue. So he'll get up to speed over the next couple of weeks and then join the team or ends up at AAA, one or the other. Um, but you know, thankfully, knock on wood, and that is wood. At least I hope it's wood. Those are the only 2 injuries so far that are going to be injury list worthy. And I had the Braves winning. Braves are just too strong in the regular season, and you know, we'll see what happens with that. NL Central, I had the Cardinals finishing last. I don't think this manager that they have is any good. Now, granted, they got a couple of good pitchers. They got Sonny Gray. I believe Kyle Gibson ended up there. But they just seem like a rudderless ship. And I would not be surprised if that manager is the first manager fired this year. You know, maybe around July. You know, not like a Gabe Kapler situation where Gabe Kapler was an in-season firing, but it was like 3 days before the end of the season. I think we're going to see something a little bit earlier in the year. I think the manager Marmol will be the first one going. Milwaukee will finish 4th. I just think that truthfully, Rhys Hoskins, you know, you got the deal from Milwaukee, but Milwaukee isn't paying anybody. They've traded guys. They got one pitcher who's out for the year. He's already said, I'm not pitching this year. I'll see you next year, because he's got a shoulder injury, I believe. But I think Milwaukee's in a bunch of trouble this year. Cincinnati, they take a bit of a step this year, closer towards getting back into postseason play. Might be giving me a little bit of a hint there, but I think Cincinnati's going to finish 3rd. And then I have the Cubs finishing 2nd. Okay. And I have the Pittsburgh Pirates winning the NL Central this year, because the NL Central is not going to be that strong of a division this year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 85 wins or 86 that wins the division. I wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies won more games this year than whoever wins the NL Central. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have a wild card team bitching that they have to play in Pittsburgh even though they have more wins. But, you know, because we have that argument all the time in the NFL that, you know, this team is 8-9 and the wild card team is 13-3. Why do we have to go to Tampa Bay or New Orleans or wherever? Just the way the settings are. But I like the Aroldis Chapman move. I like the moves that they're making, because the moves that they're making for the most part are teaching these guys how to win. And if you remember, the first half of the season, Pittsburgh was leading that NL Central. They just needed to finish things up. And, you know, I just think that they had the experience of getting that great start, getting the fans hyped for the first time in a long time, and then all of a sudden you got one of these, a crash. And Pittsburgh right now on DraftKings, and I put $10 on it only because, Pittsburgh picked up Aroldis Chapman. And let me double check that because, you know, because I don't want people saying this about me when they come to my stream, when they start hearing some of the things I say. I don't want them saying,
who the fuck is that guy?
But Aroldis Chapman is in the Pittsburgh bullpen. I think he's going to be a setup man for David Bednar. Bednar's the closer. But they have some nice young talent that is starting to gel together, and I think that they could potentially steal the division and I will gladly cash a $10. I'll gladly cash a $10 winner at 12-1 odds. Um, but that was one of the moves. I'm like, that's interesting. It was kind of like last year. Last year they signed Carlos Santana, not the musician, the guy that destroyed about 4 TVs in the Phillies. And Pork Chop has to get out to a Pickles game this summer. That is the Portland Pickles, which is, I believe, your equivalent of the God, the other teams escaping me. The Savannah Bananas, is that what the Pickles are? They're their own version of the Savannah Bananas in a way. Oh, Collegiate Woodbat Summer League. So let me give myself one of those because I'm not even close there. But yeah, and the one thing is with me, yeah, yes, with me, you can go 2 hours west, 2 hours north, 2 hours south. You got a metric ton of minor league teams around here, and you can even hit a couple of independent leagues as well. There's independent leagues in York and in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The AA team in Harrisburg. You can go up north to Allentown, Pennsylvania, where Lehigh Valley plays. You got Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, about an hour from them. You can go down the Jersey Shore with Lakewood. There's a couple of more teams further north in northern Jersey. I mean, the Northeast and the whole Eastern Seaboard is littered with minor league teams, and and if you wanted to teach your kid like fundamentals, even a low cost of a ticket, minor league baseball is the way to go. And even with your case, I imagine that the College Woodbat Summer League, those are cheap tickets as well. I would hope, but I am taking Pittsburgh to win the NL Central this year. The NL West, Colorado, they may lose another 100 games. They're finishing last. I got San Diego fourth. I just think they did do some purging this off season. I just think that they got a couple cancers on that team, and Tatis is a good player, Machado's a good player, but I don't think they're good clubhouse guys. And last year I said this when Juan Soto and everybody was saying, "Oh, Juan Soto's coming to the Phillies. He's doing this." I'm like, I want no part of Juan Soto. The way he was out there in left field or right field when San Diego was in Philadelphia, he wanted no parts of that team. He wanted no parts of being out there in the outfield. And even though Juan Soto's now with the Yankees and he's probably going to be the MVP, which wouldn't be great odds, but I don't think San Diego's going to do much. I have San Francisco third. A little bit of a culture shock here, like some basic rules that the new manager Bob Melvin has put in play over the last month or two. One of the things he said is everybody's going to be standing for the anthem, and of course, the far right was saying, "Oh my God, he's making them stand for the anthem." No, he's just setting guidelines of things that he expects from his team. It was never a stand versus kneel thing, because everybody turns everything on the right, turns it into a kneel issue. It's basically, this is what I expect. I expect you all to line up in front of the dugout, take your hat off, that sort of thing. So they had that, and their road trips are going to be more business casual from what I read today. A shirt with a collar, pants, not oh, you must dress up in a suit or anything like that. You're not going to that extreme, but you got to dress a little bit into that business casual type of thing. So, um, I don't think it's that extreme, but, I think it's, you know, let's represent the organization a little bit better. These are my rules. It isn't, it's, these are my rules. This isn't, you know, these aren't too much to ask. It isn't like you must wear a three-piece suit or you must wear a tuxedo on the road. It isn't like that. It's, shirt with a collar. Because, Gabe Kapler basically said wear whatever you want. Every manager has his own set of rules, and that's the thing. It's just rules. It is, especially the anthem thing that he had at the start of spring training. It had nothing to do with kneeling versus standing because Gabe Kapler knelt one game or a couple of games. It's not about that. It's about the way he expects his team to represent the team when they're when they're right outside the dugout when the game starts or during the anthem. So, and I have Arizona finishing second. I just think that Arizona may be, it'd be interesting to see what they do, but I think that they are going to be a team that does not know what to expect as the hunted team in the National League. I think that they finished second despite that. And I had the Dodgers obviously winning the division. That's not a surprise. And I'll talk more about the Shohei Ohtani thing tomorrow. That could be a bit of a distraction. I have my opinions on it. It's just such a weird story going on. Who knows? Maybe there's another story I got to add to it and redo my thoughts on it. But I have them winning the division. So my division winners: number 1 seed, the West winner, LA. I got Atlanta as the 2 seed, and I got Pittsburgh as the 3 seed. Now the 3 wild cards in order: Philadelphia. We'll have another wild card round in Philadelphia. Chicago will be the 2 seed, and Cincinnati will be the 3. Arizona does not get into playoffs, and it's a shame that Penguin AZ is not here right now, who's part of Bleacher Brothers and everything, because he would be telling me, oh, you're wrong, blah, 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 whatever. Then I wore my Arizona Diamondback shirt as a punishment because they won the pennant last year. And he doesn't even show up for it. But I said, hey, I paid it off. I got video proof. Go watch a video. Which I paid it off. So I'm not going to go with, this team beats this team and all that this year. I just picked the 2 probable winners that'll make it to the World Series. I got the Atlanta Braves winning the pennant in the National League. Hopefully it's not against the Phillies because, Atlanta's due to beat the Phillies in the postseason because Atlanta's 0-3 against Red October. And Don, welcome in. Don's a first time chatter here, and my name's Joe Quills. I'm a part-time streamer, part of Bleacher Brothers, bleacherbrothers.com. I work full-time in the communications industry. This is my free time, my fun time, my passion. I write horse racing articles for Bleacher Brothers. I'm going to be expanding into other things with Bleacher Brothers, and I also do this show usually on Tuesday and Thursday. But because I was on the Bleacher Brothers show last night, I knew I was going to be not starting at 10 o'clock and said, you know what, I'll take the night off. I'm here tonight. So usually Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm going to be back here tomorrow night as well. I still got some things odds and ends to come up with as well. So Don, welcome in. If you want to tell the class We still have some viewers here. You know, favorite teams if you have them. You know, I mean, I know Mike's teams. Bank Boy was in here. Pork Chop, I know his team. His team's the Portland Timbers, and I had to joke around, even though I didn't watch the game, that my Union beat his Timbers. Um, this is a fun little place here. We don't talk. We try to steer from politics and religion, and I don't talk about my real job. The only thing I will tell you about my real job is if I call out of work, if it's on a day that I have a show, that stream is automatically going to get canceled because I don't want work saying, well, you still streamed and you were sick. Phillies and Eagles are your favorite teams. You were brought up well. Welcome aboard, Don, and hopefully, I'm hoping to do this Friday afternoon, but it depends what happens because I'm off Friday, but I might have to do something on Friday, but I'm planning on doing a side cast of the Phillies home opener, but I may be a little bit busy. Mike is a good friend of mine. He's put up with my shit for almost 25 years now. And he could attest to me being a wackaloon. But, so, I have Atlanta in the National League. And Mike kind of ruined it for me. I have Baltimore winning the American League. And Pork Chop said, by blood, I'm a Patriots Sox guy, but I don't watch either unless they're playing for a cup or a title of any sort. Yeah, I can understand that. But, I only give crap to people every once in a while when our teams face each other, but I wasn't going to give you too much crap over that because I didn't even watch the game. I was too busy with football. College basketball. So I have Atlanta and Baltimore in the World Series, and Big Mike did mention, and I'm got to scroll up here so I can quote word for word. Mike said they could be the Phillies from 2008. Now, I did say this, I think I said it on Bleacher Brothers. I might have said it somewhere else. Who knows? I said that, I might even said it right after Baltimore got swept. I said that the Baltimore Orioles did exactly what the Philadelphia Phillies did in 2007 and 2008. The Phillies got swept by a hot team in Colorado in 2007. And I know I'm not talking about 2007 in terms of that. Because the Red Sox won the World Series, and I think the Patriots also won the Super Bowl that year, if I'm not mistaken. Or am I... Yeah, it was the Red Sox in 2007 because the Phillies lost to Colorado. Colorado was on that insane hot streak. Matt Holliday has still not touched home plate from that game 163 against San Diego. It's just a joke thing. I'm not bitter about that, but Colorado swept the Phillies. The Phillies, everybody was like, oh my God, we're back in the playoffs, and guess what? We're going to do some serious damage this year. Well, Phillies got swept by the Rockies, and Baltimore got swept by Texas last year. And I said, at least I know I said it after they were eliminated. I probably said it a few times on different sites, and if I didn't say it, then so be it. But I did say that Baltimore may do what the Phillies did in 2007 and 2008, and that's exactly what Mike said, where um, the Phillies got swept, and then in 2008, we had a Halloween parade for the ages, and if I had it set up, I would do it, because Big Mike does know exactly where I would go with this, with Chase Utley saying world effing champions. And I need to have that as a sound drop as well. And maybe that's something I do with my 3-day vacation, is I start building up some of the sound drops I want to have. I do have one where, you know, just joking around, stuff like that. But great minds think alike, yeah, because I know I said it last year after they got eliminated. Let me just look at one thing here. I'm gonna pull up my DraftKings here, but I'm not gonna share my screen here. So, actually, I could share this and I could make a college basketball pick for tomorrow, but MLB. And I know I'm way too close to the screen here because you're probably only seeing my far head here, or my 5 head or 6 head. Pork chop, can you compare my head to Sean Tempesta, please? I'm joking around, don't. Team futures, there it is. Baltimore is the 4th choice at plus 1100 on DraftKings. Phillies are 6th at plus 1400. Braves are the 2nd choice at plus 450. Dodgers are the favorite right now at plus 350. I really do not see a team on here that I'm interested in right now. I need to see, you know, a surprise team like Baltimore being a year ahead of schedule last year. That's why I jumped the board on it last year. But I have the Baltimore Orioles winning the World Series this year. And right now I am not playing a World Series future wager, only because my future wagers I like to play are around plus 2,000, plus 3,000. Mike knows all about it from 2 years ago. Actually, I had 2 future wagers. I played one in front of him where I put $100 on the Phillies at 30-1, and they got to the World Series and they got to Game 6 against Houston. And then I had the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, and they were plus 2,000. I had that for $50, but that was on DraftKings. So, but usually when I play a future wager like that to win a championship, I'm usually this close. I've been close 3, 4, 5 times. I just haven't gotten over the hump and gotten that big payday. And you know, it's going to come. Kind of like my horses, which I just cannot pick a winner right now. And you know, next 3 days are going to be races from Oakland Park. They picked random races Thursday, a random race tomorrow, which will be on BleacherBrothers.com after 11 a.m. sometime. The Friday race is a stakes race, and then Saturday is the big one at Oakland, which is the Arkansas Derby. You have Timberlake running. You have Mystic Dan, who won the Southwest Stakes. And then you have Muth, who's a Bob Bradford trainee, who trying to cause chaos because his horses cannot get points because of the fact that Baffert is suspended by Churchill Downs because of that positive test from a couple of years ago, which was actually 5 in a row, 5 in a 6-month period, and most of them were Kentucky Derby prep races. So, and he mouthed off to Fox Sports and he said, "Well, guess what? You got another year." And Bob, if you get another interview, don't mouth off, because you want to be running in that Derby deep down inside. You know, just keep your mouth shut, and you'll be back next year. But so we got that coming up this weekend. We had the Florida Derby at Gulfstream Park. Probably if I did not go to Vegas in February, we probably would have had a Bleacher Brothers event at the Florida Derby. But it was like when I'm sitting here, when I finally got home from my Vegas trip, where I was there 9 days. No, I wasn't there. And I wasn't there. I was there 9 days. And, I mean, I got money in my accounts and all that, but, I kind of want to keep the money in there, because I might be doing something over Memorial Day week. I just don't know what direction I'm going. And I'm getting called Richard here for some reason, and I don't know what I did. Was it because I said I wasn't there, or... But I do have one thing to say to you, Mike, since you're calling me Richard. Don't worry, Mike. I got a whole bunch of sound drops I haven't even used yet. But so this Saturday you have the Florida Derby. You have the Arkansas Derby. You have the UAE Derby, which is Derby points. I'm not going to handicap that race, only because the international programs are a pain in the ass to read, especially if you have international horses. But there is a horse named Forever Young that's running. He won a race in Saudi Arabia last month on the Saudi Cup undercard. He's a Japanese horse, and sometimes you don't want to bet on the horse with the Japanese name, but he's not a Japanese named horse. He's just a horse that's owned by Japanese owners. If he wins that race, he'll probably come to America and probably have 2 Japanese horses in the Derby, like we did last year. But so we got those 3 races this weekend, and we'll go from there. So it's great to see everybody here tonight. Pork Chop, Don watching the show for the first time here. Hopefully you return again soon. Pork Chop, he's always a second hour person. It's just because he's out on the West Coast in Portland. Mike, as always. Bank Boy was here. I think that's everybody that's here. I think I got everybody. If I miss somebody, it's not done on purpose. But I do want to thank everybody for joining me here tonight. Went a little long, and I'm glad I cut out the Shohei Ohtani stuff for tomorrow night. And yes, I will be live tomorrow night. Going to start at 10 p.m. once again. And the reason why I start at 10 p.m. is more because of Bleacher Brothers. So check out bleacherbrothers.com. And also download the Tony Bruno Sports Nation app. You can get it on either Android or on Apple. And, you just install it. You just press the play button and it'll play. I got Pete Shepard from 7 to 10 in the morning. You got the LFG show 1 to 3. You got Tony Bruno from 3 to 6. Bleacher Brothers are 8 to 10 p.m., but AJ has been hinting that the show will be starting at 7 o'clock soon, which is awesome for me. Sarcasm, because after I said yesterday that, if you need me, I'm available once 7:30 comes around, because I work to 7:30 at night. So, and AJ's going to be trying to work me more into the shows and everything, because I am the racing degenerate of Bleacher Brothers, And, kind of got thrown a bit of a curveball because we were talking baseball as well, and I wasn't too prepared for that. But, sometimes that happens. So I do appreciate everybody who takes the time to not only watch live, watch after the fact. I'm going to upload this to YouTube as well. And it will be available for audio download wherever you get podcasts as well. I'm going to try to get it done tonight, but it may not be up till tomorrow afternoon because I still have an article to write for tomorrow. And, it's a full field at 12 at Oaklawn, so it's like, try to keep it under 800 words. But I do appreciate everybody. Bank Boy, Don, Big Mike, Pork Chop. I think that's everybody. So do appreciate everybody. I do appreciate everybody watching after the fact. I haven't looked at the stats from my podcast over the last week, but I'm getting hits from different parts of the country and world, and I do appreciate everybody who downloads for the first time, as well as everybody who downloads regularly. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow because today was a makeup from last night, and we'll do it live. That's right, we are going to
Do it live! Do it live! Do it live!
We'll do it live tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here, twitch.tv/Joe Quills. And once again, I am part of Bleacher Brothers. Check out Bleacher Brothers for all your sports needs, all the nice things that we're doing on the site, as well as my articles, which will probably pop up sometime between 11 and 12 tomorrow morning. So do appreciate everybody for taking the time to watch. Spread the word. Hopefully we're getting this to grow finally. And I will catch you tomorrow night, 10 p.m. right here at twitch.tv/Joe Quills. Thank you all for joining me, and I will catch you in about 21 and a half hours. Good night, everybody.